In just 48 hours, nearly $280 billion in global trade came to a halt. Military engineers, hazmat teams, and underwater drones flooded the Panama Canal, not for repairs, but after the discovery of something ancient, artificial, and possibly non-human beneath its foundation. Major media stayed silent. Yet, leaked sonar data, missing satellite images, and classified memos suggest this isn't just structural. It could be a geopolitical flashpoint or a biological threat. Is the US taking the canal back? Responding to foreign surveillance, or facing something far more serious? Let's get into it. Stretching just 50 miles across Central America, the Panama Canal might look small, yet its global impact is massive. This narrow waterway handles more weight each year than the economies of entire countries, with more than 14,000 vessels passing through annually. They carry over 300 million tons of cargo, more than 5% of all maritime trade on the planet, squeezing through a channel no wider than a football field. For the United States, the canal is far more than just a shortcut. Roughly 40% of all American container traffic flows through this fragile passage. From vehicles in Los Angeles to electronics arriving in Atlanta, this single artery supports the movement of food, fuel, medicine, and essential goods. But now, that lifeline has been cut off. In a move that has stunned global markets, the United States has taken the extraordinary step of shutting down the Panama Canal. This is not due to an accident. This isn't another ship stuck sideways like what we saw in the Suez Canal back in 2021. This is intentional, and most alarming, it's cloaked in silence. So what did American authorities discover that forced them to close one of the most vital trade routes on Earth? Sources close to the operation report sonar scans revealing structural anomalies beneath the canal, alongside the quiet emergence of classified documents and restricted personnel in hazmat suits. The presence of environmental response teams, military engineers, and surveillance drones has only fueled speculation. Whatever was found, it was serious enough to halt the flow of hundreds of billions of dollars in annual trade. Shipping costs are now soaring. Insurance premiums are spiking. And ripple effects are hitting ports from Singapore to San Diego. Some experts are already warning that this could ignite a full-scale global trade crisis, or worse, reshape strategic alliances. If the Panama Canal stays offline, this isn't just a supply chain issue. It's a strategic event with the potential to alter the balance of power in international commerce. The moment news broke that the Panama Canal had been shut down, one question echoed louder than the rest: is the United States trying to take it back? In fact, former President Donald Trump said it outright back in 2019. Panama's promise to us has been broken. We're taking it back. At the time, it was dismissed as political theater. But now, 6 years later, those words hit differently. For nearly 100 years, the United States controlled the canal, operating it as both a military stronghold and a key artery of global commerce. That control officially ended in 1999, when the Torrijos-Carter treaties transferred full authority to Panama. In return, Panama agreed to keep the canal neutral, accessible, and open to all nations at all times. But according to newly declassified intelligence, that neutrality is no longer guaranteed. Here's why. Over the past decade, China has quietly ramped up its presence in Panama. Chinese-backed companies have invested more than $5 billion into Panamanian infrastructure, including port expansions, logistics hubs, and even high-tech surveillance systems, all strategically located near the canal itself. To Washington, this isn't just about money. This is about control. U.S. defense analysts are raising red flags. They say these surveillance systems could allow China to track, analyze, and potentially manipulate global shipping flows without ever needing direct control of the canal. In the eyes of Pentagon officials, this has gone far beyond trade. It's now a geopolitical flashpoint, or a new front in what many are calling the Second Cold War. But for Americans with family legacies tied to the canal, engineers, veterans, and workers, it's more than strategy. It's personal. The canal represents decades of sacrifice, sovereignty, and pride. And to watch Chinese influence rising where U.S. flags once flew feels like watching history being erased. So did the United States shut down the Panama Canal to send a warning, or to stop something far more dangerous from slipping through? But just as global attention focused on politics and power plays above the waterline, something far more unsettling was beginning to stir below it, raising questions no government has been willing to answer. It started with a sound. Engineers at the Miraflores locks reported a strange vibration, faint, rhythmic, and unnatural, pulsing through the steel. Initially dismissed as mechanical noise, it soon became impossible to ignore. The pattern kept reappearing. Same frequency, different chambers. By February of 2025, the Panama Canal Authority had launched an urgent inspection using underwater drones with sonar and structural sensors. What they found was far worse. Hairline fractures had formed at the base of several locks, some only centimeters wide, others stretching meters. And they weren't caused by ships or aging infrastructure. These cracks were expanding. According to internal reports, it was as if the canal itself was under stress, flexing and fracturing with every ship that passed. The more traffic, the worse the damage. By March, the issue had spiraled into a full-scale disruption. More than 800 shipments were impacted. Global freight rates surged by 19% in less than 2 weeks. Major ports from Los Angeles to Rotterdam felt the shock. Publicly, authorities called it routine maintenance. Privately, they weren't so sure. Drones sent deeper into the canal's underbelly began to lose signal. Live feeds flickered, then went dark entirely. No footage has been released. No answers have been given. Now, global analysts are asking the question no one in power wants to answer: are these fractures a natural failure, or a warning sign of something buried deep beneath the canal that was never meant to be found? But as investigators searched for structural answers, what they uncovered hinted at something far beyond engineering, something that could rewrite history, trigger international conflict, or unleash a threat no one fully understands. Before we continue, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just press the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It means the world. It really supports this channel. And if you do that for me, I promise my team and I will do everything we can to make this show even better for you. Deal? At first, it looked like routine structural damage, cracks, shifting pressure, and stress fractures in the canal's aging infrastructure. But once the drones were sent deeper, everything changed. What they found forced the entire operation to stop cold. Buried beneath layers of sediment was a massive, unnatural structure, with precisely cut arches, symmetrical columns, and sharp right angles embedded in the canal's foundation. It wasn't natural erosion, and it wasn't built recently. Engineers looking for damage had stumbled onto something that was never meant to be found. Soon after, archaeologists were flown in under military escort. Their early analysis pointed to a lost pre-Columbian civilization, possibly older than the Olmec, with a level of precision that suggested advanced knowledge of geometry and geotechnics. If accurate, it would mean the Panama Canal was unknowingly built through the ruins of an ancient city. But not everyone agrees. A separate team led by the United States Army Corps of Engineers raised a very different alarm. Sonar imaging revealed metallic components embedded within the structure, sealed casings resembling military-grade hardware. No origin markings. No known blueprints. Quiet speculation turned quickly to foreign espionage, with China as the prime suspect. And then came the most disturbing theory of all. During a routine dredging pass, several underwater drones were recovered, covered in a strange organic substance. A quiet bulletin released by the World Health Organization in early April referenced a biohazardous anomaly. Found in canal sediment, microbial formations that didn't just grow but reacted. Within 48 hours, Emergency containment protocols were activated. The canal was sealed, operations halted, and public explanations were replaced with silence. Whether the truth lies in ancient ruins, covert surveillance, or an unidentified biological threat, one fact remains: something beneath the Panama Canal has been disturbed. And whatever it is, it was never supposed to be uncovered. You've heard the headlines: the Panama Canal is shut down, global shipping is in chaos, and supply chains are backed up from coast to coast. But here's what doesn't add up. If more than $280 billion in goods have been delayed in just the past 30 days, why isn't this dominating front pages? Major networks like CNN, the BBC, and Reuters have barely scratched the surface. Instead, they quietly refer to routine maintenance, while satellite images, quickly deleted after surfacing online, tell a different story. In a private engineering forum, a whistleblower leaked an internal memo marked Level 3, classified, United States Strategic Interest. The document vanished within hours. Around the same time, satellite photos showed newly constructed military structures near the canal zone, installations that did not exist 3 months earlier. Some observers now claim there is an unmarked, restricted access facility near the old Howard Air Force Base, no insignias, no listed operators, and no official explanation. Although the United States officially handed control of the canal to Panama in 1999, recently leaked files suggest covert operations never fully stopped. Facilities like Fort Sherman and Coco Solo appear to have been quietly reactivated under different agencies, forming what insiders call a shadow footprint. Even digital evidence is disappearing fast. Mentions of the canal shutdown have been removed from trending pages. A Panama-based journalist who shared drone images of unmarked containers being moved within the restricted zone had her social media account suspended within 24 hours. Her final post simply read, "Something's not right here." Now, intelligence experts are warning of what they call cascading uncertainty, a situation where silence leads to speculation, and disinformation becomes easier to spread than the truth. So, is this just a mechanical failure, or is it a tightly controlled geopolitical operation happening in real time, right in front of us? While global headlines stay quiet, the economic fallout is already rippling across continents. When the United States shut down the Panama Canal, it didn't just pause a trade route. It triggered a global chain reaction now shaking the foundations of international commerce. With the canal sealed, vessels have been forced to reroute thousands of miles south, navigating around Cape Horn, one of the world's most dangerous maritime passages. That detour adds up to 17 extra days at sea, along with millions of dollars in additional fuel, labor, and insurance costs per voyage. As of late March 2025, more than 1,500 cargo ships are stalled, rerouted, or stuck in holding zones. Shipping companies report a spike of 22% in global transport costs, especially along trade routes linking Asia, Europe, and North America. Ports like Rotterdam, Long Beach, and Singapore are under pressure. Congestion has hit critical levels, and average wait times for unloading have more than doubled in just 3 weeks. The ripple effect is already hitting major retailers. Companies such as Walmart, Target, and Costco are warning of delays and have downgraded their second quarter earnings forecasts. But the disruption goes beyond retail shelves. In the energy sector, crude oil transport costs have jumped by 13%. In the United States, gasoline prices rose by 9 cents per gallon in a single week. And in developing regions, the crisis is quickly becoming a threat to food security. Grain exports from Argentina and Brazil, shipments that normally pass through the canal, are now delayed, jeopardizing food access across parts of West Africa and Southeast Asia. According to the United Nations, this situation is rapidly escalating into a food access emergency. The World Bank has revised its global growth forecast downward by 0.6% for the second quarter, naming the canal shutdown as a primary cause. Meanwhile, shipping indexes are falling, and insurance premiums on canal-linked routes have surged by more than 30%. This isn't just a slowdown, it's a global system built on speed and precision, now violently knocked out of rhythm. As the economic shockwaves spread, another battle quietly began, one not against a foreign adversary, but against total system failure. With trade routes breaking down and global pressure mounting by the hour, it became clear this wasn't just a disruption. It was a countdown. The United States Army Corps of Engineers was deployed to the Panama Canal. They were joined by emergency teams from Canada, Germany, Japan, and Panama. Their mission: stabilize a collapsing artery of global commerce. But they weren't working alone. Advanced .I.-powered drones, underwater repair bots, and predictive sensor arrays were launched across the canal. These systems now track microscopic shifts in the infrastructure, detecting fractures invisible to the human eye and simulating stress scenarios hours, even days, in advance. Each day of limited canal operations translates into billions in economic losses. In response, crews are executing the most complex live engineering intervention ever attempted on a functioning waterway. But despite the nonstop efforts and cutting-edge technology, the damage continues to outpace the repairs. Every vessel that moves through shifts the stress zones. Stabilizing one section causes fractures elsewhere. Engineers now describe it as a billion-dollar game of whack-a-mole, and they're falling behind. According to the latest data from the International Infrastructure Integrity Board, the canal's structural integrity has dropped to just 62% of its standard operating capacity. Experts warn that full stabilization could take 6 to 9 months, if nothing else goes wrong. For now, exhausted crews, autonomous machines, and predictive algorithms are locked in a race to hold together a system the modern world depends on. Even as drones scan the canal, machines whir non-stop and engineers work day and night to hold the infrastructure together. A second crisis was quietly unfolding, one that no amount of technology could solve. In March of 2025, central Panama recorded its lowest rainfall in more than 70 years. The water levels in Lake Gatun and Lake Alajuela, two critical reservoirs that supply the canal's lock system, fell more than 6 feet below minimum operational thresholds, even threatening to choke off the flow of ships entirely. Each vessel that transits the canal uses over 50 million gallons of fresh water, drawn directly from those lakes. But the water is not being replaced fast enough. Climate scientists say this is not a fluke. It's the result of overlapping environmental stressors, rising temperatures, persistent drought, changes in rainfall patterns, and El Niño conditions, all made worse by ongoing deforestation and global climate shifts. The consequences are already being felt. Daily transits through the canal have dropped from 36 to just 22. Supertankers and mega-container ships are being turned away due to insufficient water depth. Ports and cargo lines around the world are adjusting routes in real time. What was once a triumph of engineering and global cooperation is now being tested by forces no machine can outmaneuver. As one local fisherman put it, "We used to say the lake had no bottom. Now I can see it." This is no longer just a Panamanian emergency. It's a warning. If one of the most vital trade routes on Earth can be brought to a standstill by a lack of rain, what other systems are closer to failure than we think? The Panama Canal was never just a waterway, it was a guarantee. A symbol that global trade could be fast, efficient, and reliable. But now, that confidence has cracked. With the canal's future in doubt, nations and corporations are no longer waiting. They're moving fast to rewrite the rules of global commerce. In the north, both Finland and Russia are reviving Arctic shipping lanes once considered too risky. But with ice melting and new seasonal openings, those routes are becoming viable alternatives. Meanwhile, India and Iran are accelerating the long-delayed international north-south transport corridor, connecting Mumbai to Moscow through Tehran. Further south, Brazil and Argentina are investing billions of dollars into cross-continental rail systems and port projects on the Pacific coast, but deliberately designed to bypass Panama altogether. As Sao Paulo-based logistics coordinator Carlos Mendes put it, the world always moved through Panama. Now we're learning to move without it. Inside corporate boardrooms, a global strategy shift is underway. The once dominant just-in-time model is giving way to just-in-case logistics, emphasizing stockpiles, backup warehouses, and multiple shipping routes. The result? A total restructuring of global supply chains. And with every shift in trade comes a power shift. China is pushing hard to expand its digital Silk Road, merging data infrastructure with physical transport networks to shape not just what moves, but how it's tracked, stored, and controlled. The United States, recognizing growing vulnerabilities, is redeploying naval assets and diplomatic influence to secure Arctic and Atlantic corridors, echoes of Cold War maritime strategy now playing out in real time. Even the tech world is joining the race. Companies like AtlasNet and Hyperbridge are testing autonomous cargo ships, crewless vessels guided by artificial intelligence, designed specifically to bypass choke points like the Panama Canal. The future of trade is being redrawn across continents, climate zones, and digital systems. Some routes are fading. Others are rising in places no one expected. And the canal's collapse? It didn't just crack concrete, it cracked open a new era. An era where power flows not where it used to, but wherever it can. So what comes next? A decentralized world? A fully automated one? Or a supply chain even more fragile than before? Those answers are unfolding now. And whether we like it or not, we're already part of the story. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot to us. Click on the video that appears on your screen right now. I'm sure you'll love this content. Or comment below about the next topic you'd like to see featured on our channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.